So great. I'm so excited to have this session. We'd like to take people's questions every so often. This is not an opportunity to get a reading. This is more your questions about the afterlife. It could be a general question about maybe what you're going through with someone on the other side, but just understand it's not like we're going to read you. I'm not going to give you any information beyond what I would tell anybody like in the same situation. Okay, so it's not like that. But that said, there's a lot to understand about this whole journey of having a relationship with someone through the veil. So I know you guys have got questions. So I'm just going to start with the two that were submitted in the group. And if somebody posted it somewhere else, sorry, I probably will have missed it. So, oops, where did the question go now? See, it just disappeared from my screen. Let me go pull it up. But I did see it earlier and I had it saved here, and now I gotta go find it for you guys. I just want you to know that, you know, this journey, there is a lot of, well, there's things to learn, but at the same time, what I want you to understand is this is something that's going to be unique to each person on some level. So even though I can share what's happened to me and other people could do the same, your journey could be a bit different. So if you go trying to look for people who are having the same experience, it's going to be challenging for you. Like you're not, it's probably, they'll find, Alan's saying to me, you'll find pieces of it. He says pieces of it. So everybody's different. Some things can be the same. Other things will be very unique. Like I've talked to people who've had profound interaction, like right away, like right off the bat. Doesn't seem to have anything to do with even their belief system. So it's not like because they had an open mind and had a belief system that supported this, that alone meant that they had contact. In some cases, the person didn't believe in this at all. And the partner, not so much either. You know, it really, it's all across the board. Really, there's no formula. There's no one size fits all. I don't know why I can't find these questions. Alan's saying, maybe those questions were not meant to be answered. So if anyone is here that did leave the question, I think it was Lena. Lena was one of them. I don't know if Lena's here. And I can't remember the other person. But if you want to repost your questions, because I'm trying to scroll through Facebook and Facebook is not cooperating. Seriously, Facebook is can be a pain sometimes. And really, like I've seen people post something and then I want to go answer it and it disappears on my end. It's like gone from my feed. So I can't reply if I can't find your posts. So my apologies to you, but these are the limitations of Facebook. And this is why we much prefer to engage in our academy. And even there we have a Facebook group, but at least we get to be in our Zoom meetings there and you can more interact, right? So Facebook is just what it is. And we just got to, deal with it, but I can't find those questions and I had it saved. But as soon as I clicked on it, it kind of it disappeared. Again, that's Facebook. I'll just talk about a few things that I think I saw a few people talk about. Oh, okay. Thanks, Michelle. Okay. Yeah, your question was one of them. If your contact with Paul is not going, well, who said you're not going to write any book? Or have a Facebook group or anything. So this is a good question because what I'm seeing and hearing from the other side too is that you all have a mission on some level that even if all, and when I say all, I don't want to minimize it. I want you to understand that just the fact that you are attempting to have this relationship through the veil, right? Just the fact you're doing that and having whatever level of connection, engagement you're having is huge. Like you're helping millions of people who don't even know you're helping them, who now or at some point in the future may realize, hey, I want to connect to a loved one in spirit. So everyone who does this is making it easier for other people to do that. Okay. That's how reality is. So more people who do something makes it easier for others to do the same. So we're all like standing on each other's shoulders, if you will, right? We're all like doing this together. We're all creating this kind of this wave of consciousness that's expanding. And so that in and of itself is major. Like I'm saying to me, like you'll have your life review and see that whether I'm just giving an example, like let's say that you do go on and you tell a bunch of people about this, and he says it could be even random, like you mention it, like he's showing me like some of you mentioning it in Facebook groups, like, oh yeah, I have this relationship with my partner or whatever you're saying, and you don't know how that what that triggers in other people who would have never thought of the idea. And they start looking into that, whether they find us or not, had nothing to do with it, that they start understanding what this is, start researching it, start experiencing it, start trusting what's happening to them, that you have this profound effect and you don't even know it because you just posted somewhere to somebody or made a comment somewhere, but that's how it goes. Okay, that there are you influence people who influence people who influence people and on, and that's how humanity is always, evolved, like together. So, but again, who says you're not going to write a book? Who says you're not going to have a Facebook group? Maybe right now, this minute, no. Maybe next week, tomorrow, next year, who knows? Like, don't write anything off. So I never thought I was going to do what I'm doing. I was in this field for so long. And I thought with Alan passed away, I thought, okay, well, that's it. And then I didn't expect he was going to start talking to me and talking to other people. So yeah, it'll be whatever it is, right? So when I say you, I mean everyone who wants to really explore the relationship with their partner to the fullest degree, just be open to seeing what you're guided to do or experience. And if you're just beginning your journey, it's still the early days. So who knows, right? What you'll be at in 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, who knows? So Marie says, and Marie, as it says, her Facebook post has vanished. Remember seeing it. I think it was about randomness of contact. Okay, I'll go talk about that. Put your questions here in the chat. Yeah, Facebook is just what Facebook is. Okay, and the good news is Facebook is free to use. The bad news is because it's free to use, we're kind of at its mercy, and you don't really get to have much input on anything. But so I hope that answers your question, Michelle, right? Okay. And Alan's he's saying to me, for you specifically, he just says, be prepared for surprises. Be prepared for, like, let's say magical surprises where this will go. And that's really for everybody. Let's just see what happens. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Let's just see what happens and not get too far ahead of ourselves. Because the other thing with spirit and including our loved ones on the other side, they're really going to talk to us about right here, right now. Spirit only talks about what you need to know, like today, or maybe tomorrow, but everything is in flux. So they don't, do predictions. Once in a while they might, but we won't want to really think along those lines too much. Okay. And hi, Donna, and hi, Jan. Yeah, Jan, you're right. Yeah, Thomas has told you that your purpose is to show others the power of love. Yes, absolutely. And same, everybody, you're here to show the power of love, and that love doesn't die, and to demonstrate that by continuing a relationship, because as all of us know, most people in the world out there would just roll their eyes and go, what? How can you have a relationship with your partner on the other side? I mean, I had dinner with some friends on Friday night, and I was joking with them saying that I want to get on this particular podcast, and it's a podcast like a lot of them that are spiritually based or new age based, right? They'll have things like, oh, I married an alien, kind of thing on it, right? And I said, but if I went on there and I said, not only did I continue my marriage with my husband that's quote dead, but I'm still having relations with them. They'd go, oh, well, that we can't believe. Okay. We can believe that somebody married an alien, but not believe that you're having the relationship through the veil. Now that is totally crazy. That's how screwed up our world is. but then Alan said, you need to lead with that subject, because he says sex sells. That's just the nature of reality. So go all in. And I go, God, do I really have to go there? And he said, yeah, you got to go there, because that's the only thing that's going to really set you apart and get your attention, get the attention that the subject needs, is just be a little polarizing. We'll talk about polarizing. Right. So let's go to Marie's question. But talking about the randomness of contact, Marie, I guess you're saying, so what exactly do you mean? Like, is there a reason why it's random? I think we've talked about this before. I know Marie remembers that we talked about how there are other influences that can affect contact, like planetary, like astrological, energetic. It could even be electromagnetic, storm system. I mean, you name it. And of course, your emotional state, the emotional state of people around you. Okay, I'm going to give Marie, if you want to.
I'm unmuted. I'm not turning on the camera.
That's fine. That's fine. Just so I can hear you.
Right. No, it wasn't my question. You're absolutely right. Someone had posted a question in
Facebook. It was Lena. Lena's question.
And the question was about the random. That's the best I can remember, but it's totally random.
Yeah, something about what's randomness, or is there something you could do to, change that, and Alan's saying to me that it's a kind of a complex thing, because there's their end and then there's our end. But ultimately, of course, we're creating our reality. And so it depends on influences around us. It depends on where we're at, because a lot of us don't realize that we ourselves, energetically, emotionally, through a one day, we're actually in flux. You're not at the same state, you kind of, there's an ebb and a flow, a high and a low, it's all over the place. And then there's other influences around you. So as far as the contact, for some of the things that they do, he's saying it takes an enormous amount of energy on their part, as most of you know, like that. And he's saying, we've talked about this when we talked about supernatural sex, about how they can actually make, I don't know if in some cases it is actually physical contact, okay, but at the very least, energetic contact, where that there's a presence and energy that you can feel. It's hard to explain, because we don't know how can I describe something that's not 3D like this, but yet it is visceral, and it has a certain density to it, but it's not 3D physical, if you know what I mean. Like, you can feel, and a lot of you have said things like, I can feel the bed dip, and there's a weight on the bed, right? But there's no body. Or maybe feel like a pressure on their shoulder, that you feel like, oh, okay, I think he's putting his hand on, but he doesn't have a hand, right? So we can feel that, or the impression of that. And I felt Alan touch me that, but it's not, I wouldn't ever say, well, that's really physical. And yet it was. I mean, it was perceived by me through touch, perceived as it's physical. Does that make sense to people? So, but I think, hold on a minute. He's saying to me, underneath that question is another curiosity of, well, can we have more constant, like ongoing contact? And that, he's telling me, could be possible, but not usually, not right now, probably. It's more to do with our developing our consciousness. So he says he doesn't want to say no, it's impossible, but just to say, it's like, don't try to reach for that yet. You can hold that out as an idea that you like to explore a bit. But what I'm hearing Alan say, and then my guides are coming in saying, yes, please emphasize to people that it's more important that they feel their love, that they trust what they're experiencing, then look for the more tangible 3D kind of, I want to see them, I want to feel them. That kind of thing actually can prevent some people from ever really growing, because they're reaching for something so big that's a little more challenging. I'm not saying that somebody couldn't do that. I'm just saying that some people, they just think that is the be all and end all. And then they're missing, he's telling me they're missing the little things that are happening that are there because they're looking for the big thing. Like, I want to see them. And they're, let's say they're missing out on this sense of this presence that's there, or the flash of their face, which can be them trying to project. But because we dismiss it or think we're imagining it, then it's not going to strengthen. It's not going to become more, if that makes sense. So we want to start where we're at and really kind of expand that, really appreciate that, really go into that and feel good about that. Because the more you're happy with what you have, I know this sounds a paradox because you go, well, if I'm happy with what I have right now, then I'm not going to get more. But it's not true. If you're happy with what you're experiencing now, it's going to give you more to be happy about. That's the nature of reality. So whereas if you're complaining about what you don't have yet, then your reality, your universe can only give you more to complain about that you don't have yet, because that's what you keep feeling, right? You keep thinking to yourself, frustrated, like, but I don't have this yet, or I don't have that yet. And so you have to stop with the negative thinking, the doubting, and Spirit's telling me the first thing usually people have to do is believe. That's what we're always talking about, believing, because what you're doing is putting the cart before the horse, saying, well, I want to see something first and then I'll believe. But that's not how manifestation works. It doesn't, because this reality right here that you're seeing, that you're engaging with right here, is the past. It's the history of your belief. So what shows up is only a match to what you believe, not necessarily right now. You could change your belief right now. Change your belief right now. It's not going to show up till later. There's a time lag. So what you're experiencing right now is what you have believed in the past, recent past, or long-term past, whatever, but in the past. And so you cannot experience what you don't believe. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you have to believe, and then you will see it. If you say, I have to see it before I believe it, you'll never see it. Okay. So if that's you, then I love you to pieces, but you might as well forget it. You might as well say, okay, never mind. I can only believe something that I can see. Okay. Alan's saying to me, even if they were to appear to you, he's just kind of teasing a little bit. He said, even if they were to appear to you like 3D for seconds, which takes a lot of energy, but they can do, okay, and disappeared, some of you would say, well, that's great, but I want it more. That's not enough. I want it all the time. And up there on the other side, they're going, oh my God, what am I going to do with her or him? I cannot manifest in 3D constantly. Even doing that few moments may not come again for another, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, I don't know, it depends. But you have to be okay with what you have. And if you're constantly bemoaning that you don't have what you want, you're going to keep having more of that, of experiencing bemoaning the fact that you don't have what you want. That is the energy You're putting out, you get back what you put out. If you put out, I believe, you receive back, here's what you believe. Yay, you believe that, here you go. But it's not going to happen right away because of the time delay. And because some of you have really entrenched beliefs about these things, or even fears. So if you have fears about the afterlife, and that's really common, okay, it's common, then that's going to be a barrier too. Because if something happened and then you just like, it just freaks you out, so I can't take it, it's just going to shut down. Okay. And the other side, your loved one and other spirit helpers, spirit team, other loved ones, family members, they don't want to freak you out. So they just back off. They just back off. So you have to, I was going to say, I would recommend you, but Alan says, no, you have to be rather fearless. And really, if you really want to dive into it, and I don't mean be foolish. And that's why if anybody has issues, I say, please join our academy so we can help you with your issues before you manifest those. But you do have to get to a place where you just say, I'm all in. I believe this and I trust it. And so, to be honest, I think this journey, ultimately, if you're talking about long term, is best for people who really don't have fear about the afterlife, and they don't have this chronic thinking that, I'm worrying about what other people think. Am I crazy? You kind of have to let go of that, like not care what other people think, because really it's none of their business. They don't have to know anyway. So, but if you're one who does care what other people think, you're going to find this hard too. If you're one that keeps looking at, other people for validation that don't understand this, then that's not going to happen, right? How are they going to? If you look hard enough, you'll find a lot of people who will tell you that this is impossible. There are more people tell you it's impossible. And so go for that if that's what you want. But you got to, in the end, trust your heart. You got to trust the love that you have for yourself and your loved one on the other side, and decide whether that's enough for you. Okay. But of course, if you're someone that has a lot of fear and limiting issues, you have to heal that, because you're going to take that along with you, and that's going to create some problems. So I hope that answers that question. I'm going to see if I have more questions. I don't want to leave out other questions. People are dropping in here. Gail saying, when we go to source and see loved ones, are we actually beyond the clouds or still within our aura? Just pondering the interdimensional aspect of it, except their loved ones can be here with us just in another dimension. Well, your consciousness can go anywhere. So that's why you can go out of body. You can go to the astral. You can connect with them. Are you going outside of your aura? Alan is saying, no, yes, it doesn't really matter. The aura has nothing to do with it. He's saying it's beyond that. They can be you are multidimensional too. So remember what we said this quite often, that some of you still don't quite understand. The greater part of us exists in the non-physical with them right now. There's only a small part of yourself that's here in this body. So it's not hard to connect to them on the other side. It's just that your physical brain, your physical mind doesn't grasp that. Okay. But your higher mind, God's mind, your original mind, okay, that part of you is already there. So he's saying it's kind of nitpicking here, like, well, where are we? And we can be there on the other side because we are on the other side. We're not going to have full understanding of it, full memory of it. Some people might, that said, okay, and you can certainly go visit it, definitely in meditation, or somebody goes into hypnosis, they can go visit it, but you can't really live there, because you're here for a reason. But you can blur the boundary a little bit and feel like you're kind of a little bit in both worlds, which is what we're trying to do here. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Gail. And if not, yeah, Jan, it's like an energetic touch. Exactly. And Alan's saying, what's the difference if you still feel the pleasure? Right? That's a body that touched you, or the energy just ignited something in you. What's the difference? And Kristen says I get the impression that Daryl misses the physical more than anything because it was so important to him. I would think the best way to deal with that is to be available to them, right? To be open, available to them, and just be present, to just connect. Absolutely. How do you know if you're twin souls or soulmates? You just know. I mean, you just know. I mean, it's nobody can really prove it to you, right? Nobody can really disprove it to you either. So you just know. I believe that in the end, all that matters is that you love each other and that you both have this connection. And once you love somebody, that never ends. But we don't want to go down the rabbit hole of things. So if we're multidimensional, do you have multidimensional selves that have these relationships with them and other people? Like, well, yes to all of it, but who cares? In terms of what you want, you get what you want. I answered that question before, right? You'll have what you want. In the end, that's all I want you to consider, is that you're God having a human experience. Okay, you are God. Everybody is God having a human experience. Why? Because on the other side, all of us with our partners, it's idyllic, it's perfect, it's like no problem, right? And so we're thinking, why the hell did we leave that to come here? Well, think about it. You didn't come here for it to always be perfectly in harmony, although it could be. Chances are you came here to challenge yourself and have some sort of new experience that was impossible to have over there, where everything is handed to you and there's no conflict. So rather than us just fighting it, right, saying like, oh my God, why did we have to go through this? Why did he die early? Or why did we suffer this? Or why was he like that? Or I was like that, this, whatever, like the problems. Like, understand that we signed up for this. We did signed up for it. And it's a brief millisecond in the eternity of all our lifetimes. And I know it feels like the opposite. It feels like this life is like an eternity, but it's not. It's just passes by like that. And you're back on the other side, being able to choose whatever you want to do, okay? But you came here for the challenges that you're facing. Sometimes it could be not just for you to learn from it, or maybe not even for you to learn from it at all. It could be to teach somebody else. And you said, okay, I'll go through that. I'm just giving an example. I'll go through that because it's going to teach my family this lesson, okay? Or it's going to teach my child this lesson, or whatever it is. Like, it's like, I use the example of when I did readings before. This couple came to me because I think the child was 5 years old, had leukemia, and it appeared that the child was going to die. And they wanted to know, why did they have this baby? And they knew it was all meant to be, and all this, they had this beautiful relationship. And I said, well, I tuned into their child, and the child said, but I came here to teach them about immortality. I came here to let them know that they could always be in touch with me, that they're never going to lose me, that there is no death. How would you learn that unless you're challenged by that, right? How is anybody going to learn that they're immortal if the whole concept of immortality is not kind of thrown at them? And isn't that what happens when we lose somebody we love, when they pass away? We start thinking, well, are they really gone? Like, where did they go? Even if we didn't believe in life after death, a lot of people start thinking about it. A lot of people who are very religious, and whatever religion they were into, start questioning it. Like, if their religion doesn't believe in that, they start wondering. And Alan says a lot of times the reason they're wondering is their loved one. They're energetically at least going, I'm here. I'm not gone. I'm here. And they start going, oh, I wonder if they're here because I kind of still feel him or her, right? Like, what's going on? So grief can be a profound spiritual awakening for people. Or, of course, it can completely devastate them and they'll never recover. But they have the opportunity to look at it more deeply, right? If they choose to, it's up to them. And the spirit world quite often will try to, support that. Again, if that's part of the soul's path to explore that. So it's because free will world, universe, that's how it is. So, and I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but if you understand what I'm talking about, there's could be so many reasons why we're challenged, but all of us need to kind of back away from feeling like victims and feeling like this world really sucks, because I promise you, on the other side, you never thought that for a moment. If anything, you thought, I want to get back in there. I'm going to do it differently this time. I want to take on that challenge. I know it's going to be tough, but at the same time, I know I'm going to have access to people who love me. I'll have access to the spirit world to support me. I am so loved and I am immortal. I can't die. And then you have to pass through the veil of forgetting, because you have to have a different experience. So if you remembered who you are, that you're God having human experience, you remembered it right off the bat, you wouldn't be facing any challenges. Kristen says, I was just saying this today, this life feels like a million lifetimes. No wonder I feel exhausted. Yes, I know a lot of us can relate to that, right? Like, yes, I feel exhausted. And a lot of you say, yeah, I know that you, after this one, you need a long rest. I hear you, Kristen. Or a lot of people say, I am never coming back to do this life. And then Alan he's roaring. He says, you know how many times all of us that have had lifetimes which were actually horrific. Okay. You think this life is hard? They're kind of going, you have no idea the lifetimes you've endured that were 20 times, 100 times harder than this one. And yet you went back to the other side and said, okay, let's try that again. But you don't have to. You don't have to. And this one is not as hard as you might think, because look at this group you're in. Look at the times you're living in. There's more awareness, right? There's more to support from those in a body and those not in a body. Jan says staycation in heaven. Yes, we all want that, right, Jan? Let's just all have a staycation in heaven. And I don't care whether I come back or not. I was told I didn't have to come back, but I came back to do what we're doing. And Alan did too. So it wasn't like we had to come back. And a lot of you didn't either. Nobody has to, you volunteer to. Okay, so think about the times you're living in. Think about how more people than ever before are aware that there is an afterlife. Almost every day, probably hundreds of people are having near-death experiences. It is so commonplace. To me, it's almost funny. It's like, I'm going to meet people and go, did you not have an NDE? Because almost everybody has. So I want to meet the people who haven't had one. Or you can even induce one, which we're going to, let's see if we can do with people in our academy, like induce an NDE. I really think you can induce one. Yeah, spiritual, and there's lots of spiritual growth going on with everyone, whether they're trying to have a relationship through the veil or not. A lot of people are evolving quickly, waking up for sure quickly. Okay, so let us know if you have any other questions later, if you like, and otherwise, just, keep believing. It's really believing. Oh, you're going to ask, Michelle, you're going to ask why or us why now? Well, why not? Why not you? Why now? Why not you? Okay, hold on. Let me see what Alan's saying. He's saying that anyone who she was serious about continuing those bonds of love with especially a partner. I'm not just a partner, but especially a partner, just because that's a different relationship, because that person is your main relationship. And everybody will have a main relationship and its primary partner, and it's not going to be their child, no matter how much they love them, or not going to be their parent or their sibling, right? That's just different, beautiful, but different. So especially with a partner, if you feel called to this, then you came to be part of this awakening of to the masses, where people understand that not only can you have contact through the veil, you can continue the relationship, okay, in all the ways that that means. This is what even mediums that I talk to don't seem to understand. They just think, oh yeah, so you're talking to your husband. I go, yeah, but it's more than that. And they go, what do you mean? Like, they just think you're having contact just like they would, right? Like they could talk to someone on the other side. I said, no, he's here. I can feel him. I sense him. I see him clairvoyantly. He's talking to me all the time. He's getting stronger. He just say is able to give me pleasure. He's able to do all kinds of things. And other people I know are having more profound experiences than me. So we're talking about having a real relationship, except that they're not in a body. And this is, Alan was saying, this is only going to become stronger, like more undeniable. And he says that there'll be people who have this contact who didn't even necessarily understand it was possible. This is what all of us are helping make happen. We're helping to manifest it because we're doing that in our way, right? Whether we're having that full-on contact or not. The fact that we believe that and know that and experiencing that, again, we're helping other people tap into that. And so everything's happening now because it's the perfect time. That's all. And it wasn't going to happen even 20 years ago necessarily, although it probably was happening, but it wasn't really talked about. Now it's going to be talked about more. And as it's talked about more, then more people are going to tap into it and understand it's possible, right? Alan's saying it was always happening, but the people it happened to were either afraid they're going to get burned at the stake or, or they were going to be like ostracized, like banished from society, whatever. And so they just shut up about it. But now, like, we'll talk about this, and because people are saying they married an alien, they'll just go, yeah, whatever. And wait till the aliens actually do make direct contact. Then it's like, okay, the doors are open. Everybody do whatever the heck you want. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. And reality is not what we all thought it was. So I hope that helps. I'm sure we'll talk about this again. Thanks for joining us for this live, and, have a great week, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Okay. See you later.